Hey, my friends, this is the art of prepping. You know, over time, when you read various psychology articles and you try to understand about how humans think, you kind of start seeing a lot of evidence that humans think in a way that isn't exactly very accurate. That we're not really finely tuned beings in some sense. But we do a pretty good job at estimating things. But sometimes when it comes to our own estimation of our capabilities, we're not really that great at it. We may think we can do things or not do things, but it can be kind of off. And so what the studies have been showing the last few years is that humans typically underestimate what they can do in the long term, but overestimate their capabilities in the short term. And I find that to be very true. There's a lot of times that I'll be up late at night and I'll have my list of things to do, and I'll be looking at what I'm going to do tomorrow, and I have like a bunch of stuff on there already, but I add more. I'm like, yeah, I can do more, and I'm going to do all these things tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I get the first thing done, and I'm like, well, I need a break. I'm going to just take a 10-minute break. And that 10-minute break turns out to be like a 2 or 3 hour break. And then I'd be like, okay, what else is next on the list? And I start working on the second thing of the list. And before you know it, it's lunchtime. I'm like, okay, time for lunch. And basically what I'm saying here is it's amazing how we can load ourselves up with all this stuff to do. But sometimes it's just so ridiculous. And we don't even do half of it. And so a lot of times what I do is just push it to the next day, whatever I don't get done. And then the next day feels stressful because I got all this stuff, and then I end up pushing some of that stuff to the next day. And basically I just over time have learned not to schedule so much. And it's because it's not enjoyable, and also because it doesn't get done. Or if I do make myself get it all done, a lot of times I find that I don't do a very good job at it, or it was miserable just across the board. I just really disliked everything that went on. You know, it's because I'm in a bad mood or whatever, and so forth. And so what we've noticed though is that overall though, humans really have no problem putting a lot of things in front of themselves and putting a lot of pressure on themselves, but it doesn't mean that it really is going to work out. So at the same time though, it's surprising that, you know, over time, what we can really do versus what we think we can do. A lot of people just think that we don't, you know, have the ability to do all this when we could, you know, and what they do is that they typically get it just a little bit backwards, you know. So instead of trying to do everything now, it's best to break things up over time and not to, you know, underscore the potential you have long term, but allow yourself in the short term to have time to do what you're trying to do. And within preparedness, it doesn't make sense to try to be prepared for everything in 1 week or 1 month. It's just not going to happen. I mean, even if you have the money to just go out and buy everything in 1 week, it doesn't mean that you're actually prepared. I mean, it can take more than a week to come up with a decent plan of how to deal with certain situations, how to organize your gear, how to organize your supplies, how to build skills. You know, you can't learn all the skills in 1 week, 1 month, or even 1 year. There's so much to cover if you're trying to be really as comprehensive as possible. So I thought maybe I'd just chime in and, you know, say these words because it's important to kind of ground us sometimes. A lot of times we get kind of really up in the sky about things, that we have so much confidence in our gear, but no confidence in ourselves. And, you know, I'm not saying that the gear isn't important to some degree, because you know what? I like a lot of gear, but I also have to say that I've had a lot of gear fail me. And guess what? I haven't failed myself yet. And I'm glad, because I need to have that trust. And you need that trust with yourself as well. So build yourself up. And don't always look to things for, you know, an answer. You can find what you need sometimes within yourself. And so learn as much as you can, whenever you can. And I think that's the answer for most of us. And sometimes it is really important to have something to help us along the way, especially if we get stuck. And that's where the material assets really come into full force. But overall, though, we typically have the answer. There's a solution, and we just have to find it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.